So again, thanks to everyone for being here. We're about 110 people in here right now. So we'll probably get another 90 or 80 trickling in as we come along. So thanks for being here. We're all excited to be partnered together to bring you this webinar. We think we've got some great panelists and some great information, and we're excited to kind of create the conversation and the dialogue. So we've got James Waite from Hearth here. And I'll let them give kind of a full introduction of them and what they do. We've got James Waite from Hearth, Mike Hilverda from Sales Rabbit, and Tony Martin from Summit Solar and Roofing. So we'll go James, Mike, Tony, if you guys want to introduce yourselves a bit more.
Cool. I'll jump in. James with Hearth. I'm the head of partnerships over here. Effectively, what we do is we're a little bit different of a financing model. The way we work is it's basically 13 different lenders rolled up under our technology platform. Nice, Mike Iman's on board. Welcome.
We've got Mike Iman on here.
Hey, I was doing tech support on the other side as well. So, again, going back to Hearth, 13 different lenders rolled up underneath our tech platform. Single application serves 500 and up FICO scores. Most important, the difference between us and any other financing companies, especially the solar ones, no dealer fees. I know we've talked with some solar companies that, offsetting that, it's all the way up of like 20+% dealer fees. So same thing with roofing, pretty nasty stuff. Cool thing with us, 0 dealer fees. So excited to work with the Solo crew. Really honored. I'm very familiar with the Sales Rabbit platform from my experience in the industry, and those guys are rock stars as well. So we're honored to be here today. Thanks for letting us join.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Mike Hilverda at Sales Rabbit. I'm the director of client success over here. For those who don't know, Sales Rabbit is a mobile field sales enablement platform. So if you know Salesforce or any sort of CRM backend, it's very admin focused, very desktop oriented. But if you got teams who need to be out in the field selling, keeping track of their leads, and especially that information then integrating into whatever CRM proposal tool you might be using, such as Solar. We integrate well with different platforms and provide that sort of place where the rep exists, even if they're pushing data to different places within your system. Real quickly, question from I think it was Harley. A question from Holly a moment ago was that she had to jump off at the top of the hour. Everybody, this call is being recorded, and we are going to send this out to registrants after the meeting. So if you do have to jump off, we're going to make sure that you get a copy.
Yep. Thanks for knowing that. Tony, we'll have Tony Martin introduce himself, and then we'll go to Mike Iman.
Awesome. My name's Tony. I work at Summit Solar and now roofing and battery storage. So we started off as a solar company, and we have recently last year turned into a solar and roofing company. So it's been a fun transition. I've been in roofing for 10 years now. Got out of it. They pulled me back in, so I can't get away from it. But I love it. But I think some of the comments in here have already shown like it's kind of a no-brainer. It's helping us control that quality experience from the beginning to the end, now with roofing and solar, to help customers out.
Awesome. Thanks, Tony. And then welcome, Jake. Jake, we're glad we got you in here. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Most of this is my fault. This is sending things late, so I appreciate you guys working through the technical issues and getting in here. So we'll let Mike introduce himself, and then we'll go to you, Jake.
Thanks. So my name is Mike Iman. I'm the owner and founder of Nimble Restoration Services. I've been in the North Texas roofing game for going on right about 10 years. And I really enjoy it. It really checks off all the boxes for what I do. And working outside, dealing with people, different stories, the money's great, the schedule flexibility. I'm a family guy, so it's really good. As far as the solar, we've started dabbling into it, kind of dipping our toe in the pond, using some kind of white label services, but we're looking to kind of expand that, and hopefully with the help of Hearth, that can kind of come to fruition.
Awesome. Go to you, Jake.
Hey guys, I'm Jake Ackerman with Roof Tech in Salt Lake City. I actually came to roofing and solar in a roundabout way. I started after selling a business and not knowing what to do. I started selling solar for a buddy who owned a solar company. Did that for about a year, and loved selling solar. But what I realized is, man, solar's tough, and it's got complications, and we called it the solar coaster because of all the the legislation and all the things involved. So I decided to leave solar and start a roofing company 4 years ago, which I did, and so we started Roof Tech. And last year we did about 18 million in sales as a roofing contractor. And finally, the guy that I had worked for in the solar business, his business went under, and I had told him on a handshake, hey, I'm not going to ever compete with you, so you don't need to worry about it. But after his business went under, I thought, man, solar would be a pretty sweet bolt-on business for my roofing company. And so last year we did a couple $1 million in solar sales, and really kind of just got the baptism by fire of adding that complexity to doing roofing and solar together. It really is a sweet marriage. This year we're on track to do about 30 million in sales combined between roofing and solar together, with about maybe 4 or 5 million of that being in solar. So we're excited to keep growing our solar division as a bolt-on business to our roofing company. So that's what we're all about.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. We appreciate the recap again, Tony, Mike, and Jake. Thank you guys so much for being here. We will go ahead and kick it off. We got all our questionnaires for you. So we'll let Tony, Mike, and Jake imbue some wisdom on us, and we'll just kind of ask some questions. They can take it away. Just for everyone to know, feel free to use the chat as much as you want. The question section down below, those will be actual questions that we'll answer and we'll bring up when we go to a Q&A section at the end. So go ahead and feel free to submit some questions. We'll get to as many as we can, but we'll kick it off right now. So you three, the panelists, feel free to kind of jump in as you want, and we'll just kind of work through these. So what made you guys to start deciding to offering roofing, or if you started in roofing, what made you decide to also add on solar? So what's kind of motivation behind going cross industry?
I'll jump in. So for us, sorry, man. Being solar first, the market we were in was in Greenville, South Carolina, and I don't know if there's many South Carolina roofers on here right now, but from what I saw, the quality of roofing construction out there is not what I'm used to, because I got into roofing in Colorado, so it's pretty high standards there. So we wanted to be able to kind of get away from the bad roofing contractors that we were referring, and they were not helping us look good and control all of that. So since then, we've been able to put on our product, control the narrative, set the right expectations with customers, and help them go solar. So it is now allowed us, our business has opened up to a lot of these customers we weren't helping before that have old roofs, and they didn't have hail or wind. So now we can combo that with Sunlight Financial, Mosaic, that's what we've been using, and do roof and solar deals. So then they can take advantage of those tax credits for the roof. So it's been a huge no-brainer for people, and helped us really add on to more and more business.
Awesome.
So for us, we're primarily a roofing company. We dipped our toe in the pond, or are in the process of doing that. As the awareness of solar really, starts moving into society. I mean, you've seen a lot. I'm having to deal with the detach and reset of these panels anyways. So as that interest, just blossoms, I figured, kind of talking to some of my industry colleagues that are also getting into solar, it just seemed kind of a complementary service. So again, we're not fully ingrained, like some of the guys on this panel, but we're definitely looking forward to really, digging in and offering that as again, a complimentary service.
Awesome.
So for me, I loved the solar business for a lot of different reasons. And my primary reason not to be in the solar business from the beginning is that I committed to a friend that I would not compete with him. But I knew that for myself and my life, for my wife and my family, I wanted something that was stable. And what I loved about roofing, as I left the solar industry behind completely, I left it for dead, basically. I loved roofing because it's stable, you can depend on it, it's economy proof. The customers that I was meeting with to talk about their roofs were getting new roofs all the time. And yet, like, the solar just fit like a glove, and I love that we can warranty the roof with the solar together. that, you know, what we do is we tell customers that we'll honor their roofing warranty even after we put solar on, and explain that if they get a brand new roof and they get solar from somebody else, we can't warranty that solar that goes on. So there's just a lot of things that I love about doing both together. And I think a good roofing job is $4,000 or $5,000 in profit, and there's certainly a lot of them out there to go get. Of course, you could make more in bigger houses and that kind of thing, but a good roofing job is $4,000 or $5,000 in profit, and I think a good solar job is probably twice that. It's a lot more complicated, and permitting and just the whole process is more complicated. But I think having the two together has pushed us to be a better company. So I'm excited that we have both.
Great. So when you guys were switching from one industry to the other, and whether you started in solar and switched to roofing, or started in roofing and switched to solar, what were the biggest holdups or the biggest barriers to entry that you encountered when you were switching over?
So let me jump back, and then we'll maybe go the reverse order or something. I think the toughest thing is, I think one of the toughest things is salespeople. Salespeople generally, to a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And so if you're a roofing sales guy, you want to sell roofs, and if you're a solar sales guy, you want to sell solar. And trying to figure out that sweet spot of you don't want to go out to the homeowner's house as a roofing sales guy and hit them with roofing and solar at the same time, because you might wind up not getting either. So kind of getting that smooth process in terms of delivering, the roof almost always goes first. So we say if we deliver the customer a 5-star white glove amazing roofing experience, they're going to be a lot more open to our solar experience. If we fell on our face and they were frustrated with 2 or 3 things throughout the roofing process, they probably aren't going to be super interested in the solar sales process. So what we try to do when we're selling is we try to sell the roof first. We try to introduce the idea of solar early, and then we try to follow up on, but we don't give them pricing or anything until the roof is sold. We do sell quite a few roofs for people who are looking for solar. They'll call us for solar, and then they'll say, well, and I think I need a new roof too. So there is some of that, but primarily from a process standpoint, just sort of getting that flow down to where you're not cutting off your nose to spite your face has been a trick. And then the other thing I would say is it's tough to get sales guys to be able to sell both. They kind of can be good at one or the other. There's a few guys who can cross over, but it's not always the easiest. That's been my experience.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback off that, I think it's the learning curve. We have our team members that are fully able to sell a roof, upside down, backwards. But when it comes to selling solar, it's just a little bit different. So it's really navigating that for at least us, anyways. And again, so we're in the very beginning stages. We're in the first 100 yards of the marathon here. But yeah, it's the information and getting that across and getting that then to the customer in a seamless fashion that they can bite on.
So, being that we're solar first, it's been a little bit different, right? I definitely, being in the roofing industry first, going to solar and then back into roofing, I find that the roofing sale is a lot more complicated. So teaching our guys about the roofing sale, it's been a little bit of an easier transition. So it's actually helped us close a lot more deals. The biggest thing right now that we're running into is just, tying our solar deals into insurance claims and figuring out, how to get our new roofers, kind of teaching them how to properly sell solar, but not too much. So it's really all about the sales guy. I think you guys hit the nail on the head. You have the talented guys that, this is going to be easy for them. But the new sales reps, it's kind of start with roofing first and then gradually get into solar as they learn how to become a better and better salesperson.
Nice. So one of the things you guys all mentioned, kind of educating your reps and whatnot. So is there a program or system or a way you found it easier to bring new reps kind of into that? Like Tony, you just mentioned advanced reps, it's kind of easier, but how are you educating solar reps on roofing terms and terminology? And then how are you also doing the reverse of teaching roofers how to sell solar? What does that process look like for you guys?
So
Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
All right. So for us, I'm actually leaning on some of the guys in my market that are already doing it. Some of these guys that I've built relationships with, and you know, it's kind of a breaking of bread. You know, roofers helping roofers is kind of a thing that we've got going on here. And so the people that have already navigated that curve that I was talking about earlier are really forthcoming with the information. And so it's been definitely a blessing having those people at our disposal to answer questions and just kind of help us out in this kind of transition period.
Nice.
Yeah. On our end, with the retail sales for the solar reps, what we've been doing is just kind of having some, Zoom meetings with our GAF rep where we use GAF a lot. So having them go over the warranties, educating them about that. When the homeowner knows they need a new roof and they're sold on solar, it's kind of a no-brainer, right? So it's really just making sure our reps know the product, because at that point you're not dealing with insurance. You don't have the complications of that. When you get into the insurance route, right now it's more, hey, let's really help our guys learn the insurance side, and then we're going to have a Solar Pro tag on with the roofing rep and combo that until we get these roofing pros to really understand the solar side. So I think that being that we're newer in the roofing right now, that's going to be something we're going to gradually grow into, and it's always going to be a growing process. You have to earn that privilege of getting into the solar side.
Well, I wouldn't be doing my job as a panelist if I didn't share what my what I think our secret sauce has been. So I would agree with what has been said. The sales guy and when to tackle it is really the trickiest part. I would also agree that if the customer is sold on getting solar on their house and they're already locked in to get solar, and then you go back to them and say, hey, you're going to need a roof as well, those are slam dunk deals to get the roof along with the solar. So the trickiest part is taking a roofing customer, whether they're a retail roofing customer who's replacing it because their house is old and it needs a new roof and they just moved in or whatever, or taking an insurance customer who had hail damage or wind damage or storm or whatever, taking that retail roof customer or that insurance roof customer and selling them solar. That's the secret sauce. And the way that we found that's the most effective to do it, frankly, is we have two different strategies, and I think that's what was just alluded to. One of them is to have the guy who is selling the roofs take a solar sales guy with them kind of as a tag team, and then have the solar guy go out and try to sell the solar after the roof is complete. So that's one way that we've had success. The other thing that we've done is we've had, and we're just getting into this now, but we've had we've actually hired somebody to create all of our solar proposals, and we've tried to make our solar sales kit turnkey for our sales guys. And so we're actually sending guys who qualify for the ability to sell solar. So we're kind of telling our sales team, hey, once you hit a certain level, if you hit a certain number of deals per month, et cetera, then we're going to go ahead and train you on how to sell solar to your existing customers. And they're all excited about it because they have a relationship with their existing customers. And so what we're doing is we're giving them basically our successful solar sales pitch deck, and then we have someone who creates the solar proposal for them. And then the idea is that they're going to go out and sell solar to their customer once they've already had it. But we're just sort of, that's our roadmap, and we're just sort of in the testing mode for that. But what we've been the most successful at is, and what I agree with the other panelists, is teach guys to sell roofs, whether it be retail or insurance or both. We do both. And then once you've got proven winners who can sell roofs every day, then they take a solar sales guy out there with them on the back end, and they just get a referral fee, and the solar sales guy sells the solar. So that's been what's worked the best for us, but we're kind of pioneering adding the ability to kind of give our our best roof sales guys the ability to go try to sell solar.
Yeah, and if I could add on to that too, one thing that we just started doing that we've had some success with, we use Solo. So when we show up, if it's an insurance deal and they've just gotten approved, we'll set up a like our Summit New Roof Doc meeting to go color them out, set up expectations. But we'll have a solar proposal, and I'll show up with my, so I sell solar, so I'll show up with my roofing reps, and it's like, hey, we have a solar design. We just wanted to show it to you real quick if you're interested. That way, if you have more questions, we can set up a follow-up and try to lock down solar if you need it. And what we found is customers that have large deductibles, because we don't waive deductibles, we can help them put in that deductible costs in with the solar if they need help with that. If they wanted to upgrade, we've had a customer put in skylights, wanted skylights, so we put in the cost of skylights in with the solar costs. And so far it's been successful, but I think the key right now, until we grow into a business where we have like a lot of roofing and solar pros that are combos and they can do both, it's definitely a tag team situation.
Very cool. And that went into the next question was, are you guys, are you handing it off? Are you tag teaming? And you guys seem to all kind of answer that in your own way already. I know one of the biggest things as well is teaching reps how to identify roof issues. So are you training reps are you training, and this is more for a solar trying to sell a roof or understand a roofing need, because obviously I work for Solo and I talk to a bunch of people all the time, a bunch of companies across the country about it. And one of the things that they ask me is, well, how do you train a solar guy to kind of assess the needs for a new roof or a roof repair when you're selling solar at the scene so you don't have to do that later? So are you guys training solar reps just kind of on a basic level of how to assess roof damage or what they may need? Or is it just kind of you're selling the system and then when you do the site survey, you assess it? How are you guys each handling that situation?
So on our end, like we kind of give a big heads up to the solar guys where the hails, like Rockford, Evanston. We just recently we're in Illinois, so we had a derecho, which is a land hurricane. So it's pretty easy for the solar reps to see when there's a lot of wind damage. But it's our solar guys don't get on roofs. So a lot of them are afraid of it. So it's a lot about asking the right questions, age. If it's over a certain age, we're going to we have a drone site survey process already anyways, that does like a good overview. And if we're seeing like a lot of deterioration, we're going to have us come out and inspect it. But right now it's a lot of questions, making sure they're asking the right questions with the customer. And if there is a concern with the roof, they're going to schedule a follow-up. And in between that, they're going to have one of our roofing pros come out, inspect it, and kind of give that bill of health in a sense about what the roof is at, where it's at, and what needs to be done.
Awesome.
What I would say is first, you got to be careful because there's yins and yangs to everything. I've had a few situations where we hired a solar guy and he's like, I don't know if I'm interested in selling roofing because selling solar is way more sexy, and I don't know if I want to get on the roof. And then they get a taste of selling roofing and we're like, no, we want you to keep selling solar. And they're like, no, I'm good. I'm just going to keep selling roofing and you can have somebody else sell my solar deals. Because solar can be there's each of the different industries have their own unique challenges. But generally as far as roof condition, I agree with what was just said. I mean, it's common sense. If the roof's in bad shape, and earlier it was alluded to, and I'm sorry, I don't know the other panelist's name by sight. I know the gentleman from Texas had alluded to, the detach and reset thing. And there's nothing that frustrates me more than going out to a house and they need a new roof, and a solar company came through 5 years ago and sold them a roof and sold them solar. And now I've got to take that solar off and put it back on to fix their roof. And they're not going to be able to claim the solar for the tax credits. And it's really, that solar company didn't do what was in the company's best interest, in my view, from my viewpoint. Hopefully it's an insurance deal and the insurance company will pay us to do the detach and reset, because if it's not, then it's going to cost them a lot of money. So I'm a huge fan of if I'm selling solar, I'm going to sell the solar first. I'm going to collect a deposit, and then if I get out there and they need a new roof, I'm going to give them a change order or offer them to give their money back. But I'm going to say, hey, you really need to do the roof. And then I'll explain to them the benefits and everything. But if there's a question on, hey, they're probably going to need a new roof in the next 5 years, we just tell them we're not going to do your solar unless you do a roof and your solar at the same time. That's kind of our philosophy.
Nice. And Mike, kind of specifically for you, you had mentioned doing a lot of the detach and retach. What's kind of your process for that? Is that something that you guys actively look for to try to sell to companies, or is that just kind of you encounter it and deal with it as it comes? I know you've got a long history in roofing. How do you handle that?
So when it comes to the detach and reset, sometimes the panels are under contract. Solar City, I guess it got bought out by somebody, I don't know. But ultimately, these providers, they come out and do it. We have a company that we do, like I said, kind of a white label kind of deal. They come out and do the detach and reset. But ultimately, it was that process that really started us in on being interested in the solar side because, again, kind of complementary deals. I mean, I got panels mounted to the roof that I need to replace, and so it played out.
Awesome,
Mike. I'm
cool.
gonna add into that. One of everybody's roofer's favorite words is O&P. So
Yeah.
being, we've gotten a couple hailstorms in South Carolina where we have a lot of our own installs, and it's helped create repeat business. And now we can kind of control that detach and reset process for our customers and help them with a new roof. But because we have a good handle on the solar side. We have actually fielded a lot of calls where customers, they had an old solar company, they're not around anymore, and they need help with that. So we have the crews and the ability to do that detach and reset. And once that's something the roofing company understands how to do, it's fun to supplement because it's a new line item in Xactimate. They don't have it locked down, and there's a lot of money in it. And it's complicated. So being that overhead and profit is kind of now more looked at as like how complex is this process. And you have if you're doing a detach, then you have to do the roof, then the gutters, then reinstall the solar. It's a better argument for that overhead and profit. And on top of the profit you can get off of just the detach and reset. So if you learn that process, you become good at it. It's a huge profit builder. It can take that roof and turn that $4,000, $5,000 into 10 pretty easily just from a detach. That
just made my call. That just made being a panelist on this call worth the time. I think we're gonna go, dude. That'll make that's a great point. I absolutely think that's a great point.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for sharing that, guys, Mike and Tony and Jake. Let's switch gears a little bit. We're 11:37 Mountain Time, and I want to get some of these kind of back office software type questions out, because one of the biggest things, obviously, and what everyone's doing is how can we manage the customers, how can we manage the flow, how can we make it easier on our sales reps so they can push more deals and fuel the bottom line. So what tools and softwares are you using that you have found to be the most helpful?
Well, for solar, we use Solo and HubSpot. For roofing, or like both of them, we all use Sales Rabbit for our door knocking. We still knock. But HubSpot, we do a lot of online marketing. Okay. And then for roofing, we're using AccuLinks. So we don't have a tool yet that we're combining the roof and solar in one CRM. And I think it makes it a little easier. We kind of treat it as like the roofing's one side of the business and solar's the other side, even though they intertangle quite a bit. But yeah, those are the tools we're using for sure. And then just because we use Solo, we have a great relationship with Sunlight right now. I'm definitely interested in talking more to Hearth on the retail roofing side. I need to do that. But we use a lot of Sunlight and tying the roof and solar in together.
So as far as the tools that we use, we don't actually have anything specifically for the solar side. But for our CRM, we use Job Nimbus, obviously, Eagle View to get our measurements, Hearth for our financing, and then Hail Trace to kind of track where we need to go and where I need to send team members and whatnot.
Very cool.
Cool. So very similar. We use Sales Rabbit for canvassing. We use Job Nimbus for all of our production, and I would include solar with that. Really love those tools. Our financing is so I'm really excited about Solo. I just, again, I'm as much of a participant here as I am a panelist. I'm learning every day, and while I was on the call, I was looking at what Solo is. I'm like, whoa, this looks pretty great. So I don't know a lot about it.
More too.
But
if I could add in on the Solo stuff, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Solo,
go ahead.
like out here, we compete against a lot of solar guys. Okay, and using Solo, not a lot of companies are using it right now out here in Illinois, and homeowners specifically state like the presentation tools that we use, like that gets us to that next step. It's pretty awesome. So, and then tying that in with when you can just add roofing costs right into it, it makes it very seamless, very, very simple.
That's awesome. Yeah. So we love Job Nimbus. It's kind of like all CRMs. I think we all kind of tolerate them in some ways. I think I'm cut off. We all sort of tolerate CRMs in some ways, but there's a lot of things I really love about the integrations, the stickiness between Job Nimbus and both Hover with GAF and Eagle View and Sales Rabbit are super integrated. And of course, we also integrate with Hail Trace as well for finding our storms. And so I've loved all that stuff. Need to kind of revisit Hearth, but I can't. I think it's, we have canvassers. I don't know if everybody uses canvassers alone to find their deals or if they do marketing or whatever, but we have a combination of kind of everything. And Sales Rabbit's been fabulous for kind of being able to manage that and integrate it directly into our Job Nimbus to take it from the beginning all the way through the end.
Awesome. Very cool. Thanks, guys. We'll do one more question for you guys, and then what we'll do is we'll have Mike Hilverda from Sales Rabbit dive into some of these questions that have been asked by the participants logging in. So just kind of a summary question. I'm trying to think of which one to go with. I would say, what general advice do you have? So you guys have all kind of crossed industries or touched on both a little bit. What's kind of your general advice that you would give to anyone trying to break into the other market, and what has been your biggest driver of that business to make you successful? So kind of the why and how of crossing the industries. And you don't have to give up your secret sauce, but just some input would be great, I'm sure, for the participants.
Start with one. You have to master what you're doing first. If you're with roofing first, if you don't have your processes down and have a great system where you're, easily training reps, getting them to grow, making them successful, like don't try to dip into solar yet, because solar is extremely complicated. And if you're in the solar industry, like there's a big scare of companies coming in and going out of business quickly, not having their finances in orders. There's a lot of things changing constantly in the solar industry. So you need to make sure you're down pat with the solar, then get into roofing. So that's my only suggestion.
I would kind of piggyback on that and just say that the education is paramount. So our distributors offer lunch and learns, and I encourage my guys to go to each and every single one that they can possibly make. And the same proves true for our solar. Like I said, we're not fully integrated, but education, making sure that your guys understand the product and the processes is key, because if they don't know what they're talking about, well, then they can't possibly communicate that effectively to a prospective client.
That's great.
So we're in a about an 8.5, 9 month weather market where you traditionally lose winters. And I would say there's a lot of things that I really like about solar for that reason. I would say if you can do both. I love what the gentleman in Texas said about the white label solution. There's a lot of solar companies out there. I love solar for the environment. I mean, honestly, I'm not an environmentalist by any stretch, but we're putting roofs on people's houses. Why not do the solar at the same time and do something good for the world and leave a legacy of, not burning more coal? So there's a lot of things. And when I talk to customers, I share that with them. Like, I actually believe in solar. I have it on my own house. So if you have that passion to deliver a great roof, and you can get that passion for delivering solar, I do it almost as out of a sense of like, hey, this is the customer. If they're going to pay taxes, they're almost crazy not to do solar. So that's kind of how I see the combination. If you're doing your roof, you got to do solar together with your roof. I think they're crazy not to do it.
Yeah. To add on to your point, I think like the future of where roofing and solar is going too, with solar shingles, like we're going to be sending out one of our roofing install crews this year to New Mexico to get trained on just installing the Tesla shingles. And it's going to be super niche right now, right? It's not going to be a big part of the business, but it's where roofing and solar combos can go. And I think that's pretty exciting for everybody, right? Where you can now, like, hey, you got an insurance claim, let's upgrade you to a solar roof, man. Let's do it. I think that's huge with tax credits, incentives. If you're not excited about that, I don't know why you're on this call. So.
Well, very cool. The panelists, you guys have been awesome so far. I'm going to turn it over to Mike Hilverda for Sales Rapid for a little bit. And he's been going through the questions down below asked by some of our participants. We'll do a little bit of rapid fire and see if we can get some of those cleared out really quick. And then James, Mike, and myself will give a quick little 3-minute pitch about kind of what we do, how to contact us. And then just so everyone knows who's been here as a participant, you will get a few emails after this with the with contact information for James, with Mike, with Solo, with everyone, so that we can get any questions answer from you guys, and then you'll also get the recording of this and some other stuff. So you'll have a copy of this for your records. But turn the time over to you, Mr. Mike, so you can kind of go through some of those questions.
Yep, a couple of people asking about the call recording. We always make sure to do that, so all registrants are getting a copy. And if I ask a question here that was answered on the call, just let me know, asked and answered. But we had a couple of people asking the panelists, can your roofing installation crews handle solar, or do you have dedicated solar installer crews? And something similar, which of you perform all installation work in-house versus using subcontractors, either for the roofing or solar space?
So I actually typed up an answer. I can't remember who it was for, but I mean, even if we were doing it all in-house, I wouldn't have the same crews doing the same thing, because I'm of the mindset you play on your strengths. Same reason I wouldn't have a framer wire up a house. It's different. I'm not saying that that crews don't have the ability to do it, but play off your strengths. So that's kind of the answer that I gave the gentleman earlier.
I agree.
Yeah, we are in-house for solar. I think the only thing, because we are doing a lot of detach and resets, we are really looking at training our roofing crews how to do the detach and resets themselves, because they fly on the roofs. They're great up there. Being that the system is already installed, it's going to be easier for them to keep the lag bolts in the same holes so we're not damaging rafters, and then look at like, hey, now we don't have to keep solar off on this house for a week. Balance schedules between solar and roofing, which can get really complicated. So I think the only time we're going to intertwine the both is when the roofing company or roofing side can do the detach and reset. That's it.
Yeah.
Question from Kathy, and this was kind of asked and answered by a different person on the call, but wanted to bring it up here. How do you dispose of roofing material in a sustainable way? How does that jibe with sustainable solar? I think Harley responded, take roofing materials to the dump or recycle metal. But does anybody else, one of the panelists on the call, want to respond to that as well, as far as getting rid of roofing materials in a sustainable way that supports your solar image as well?
If anybody has a legitimate answer to this, I would love to hear it.
I have a legitimate one. I literally just sold solar to a customer. She works at a dump. They have shingle recycling, and I asked what really happens to it. Just goes to the dump. So I think it's kind of a foo-foo thing. Like like, yeah, hey, we recycle our shingles, but I don't think they actually get recycled. Unfortunately, if there was an actual way to do it, I would love to be able to do it. But I don't know how to do it. Metal is the only thing that I know how to recycle. Obviously the copper from our solar installs, but yeah, that's what I know.
Another question from Tolly. What percentage of income do you estimate that solar has brought to your company? And I think Jake at the beginning talked a little bit about his numbers, but percentage-wise, solar versus roofing, what successes have you guys found?
So
it's a very small percentage for us. Like I said, we're not, I'm nowhere near like the level that the other two panelists are at, as far as having the fully integrated, solar and roofing. So, I mean, it's in probably single digit or barely over the crest of double digits. It's as far as the increase.
Yeah. I think the question would kind of be opposite for us. Like we're doing right now, we're about 80 to 90 solar deals a month, but we're much smaller on the roofing side, right? So we're doing about 30 roofing deals a month. We're new on the roofing side, so we're trying to grow that. So that's the side we're excited to grow. We're just looking for the right people,
And I think you can't be afraid of going after a new pie, a new slice of pie, or growing the pie. I worked my buddy before that he had his solar company go out of business. His solar company was a $20 million a year solar business, and it's out of business. And today we're like a $25 million a year roofing company with a $5 million solar business. And I'd love for my solar business to do 15 million next year and have my roofing business do 30 million next year, So it's, I'm definitely, I see solar. I don't know what the tax credits are going to do next year, but I definitely see solar as, there are solar companies in, and I don't know if you guys are tied in with the whole Semper Solaris or whatever in California, but there's solar companies that are also roofing companies out there that are 10 times the size of what we're doing, and they're massive, and they do roofing and solar all day, every day. Fortunately, they're not in my market, but they're out there. And if they're not in your town, they are coming. And, that's another reason why I think you're smart to be on the call is if you don't think that the solar guys are going to figure out a way to hedge the legislation, they will. And roofing is the way they'll do it. And if you don't think that the roofers are going to figure out a way to get a bigger profit piece of the pie, the smart ones will, and they'll do it. So if they're not already in your town, they're coming to my town, they're coming to everybody else's town. And, we gotta adapt or die. So we got to keep going.
Question from Jim Marshall. Curious about the tax credit in the roof. What portion of the roof is legally allowed to be part of the 26% tax credit if the customer has to put in a new roof or in order to do solar?
It's the face that is touching the solar. So if you have multiple faces, it's only those faces.
What I tell my customers is we don't give tax advice, and I'll provide you with an invoice for the roof and the solar, and take it up with your accountant. But that's what I tell my customers.
Okay. Another one, is there a basic roof life where you would start suggesting to the solar customer he may want to roll in the roof? I assume we're not talking about storm damage or something, just traditional roof life. At what point in a solar sale do you say, you know what, this should really be a combination deal?
That's kind of hard. You got 3 tabs versus architectural, or roofs that are young with no ventilation that are already falling apart. So I think you generally it's case by case from what I've seen.
Yeah, you could have a 15-year-old roof with the south-facing slopes, which are the slopes that are going to get solar. But those south and west-facing slopes in full sunlight could just be hammered. And if they were, I'm not trying to bash on any products, but if they were like a Tamco shingle or something, they could be in bad shape. So, and then if you're going to tear off half the roof, it's like, yeah. Do you want me to tear? It's like buying 2 tires instead of buying 4 tires. Your truck's not going to look as nice, So do we just want to replace all 4 tires? It's kind of it's a tricky question, but I think in that 15 to 20 year range, and I agree, if they had good insulation, the roof would have lasted longer, but it's just really based upon the condition of the roof more than it is the years.
Okay. Let's pivot over to James, David, and I. And James, let's have you go first. And by the way, there's been a lot of commentary, a lot of energy around comments of avoiding dealer fees, and then 500 FICO scores, and what you can speak to that about how Hearth can help solve those pain points.
Yeah, I think before we dive into the answers directly to that, I want to be abundantly clear. I think, when we talk about the kind of the intersection between roofing and solar, I don't ever want to position Hearth as a solar specific lender. I think one of the things that we've found is that our model currently is not as good as more of the solar specific products, like with the mosaics, the dividends, et cetera, the sunlights. The reason being is because there's so many nuances, like, the tax credits and incentives, all of that other stuff that's very specific to the solar world. Solar is not like selling roofing, like in some way, shape, or form. So the other side of it, like we were talking about with dealer fees, is 60% of the 9,000 plus contractors using Hearth currently do roofing in some way, shape, or form. The way it works is, again, we can go down as low as 500 because we have 13 different lenders. When we look at like the different buckets of like poor, good, and excellent credit, we still have close to a 40% approval rate down in that 500 to like low sixes, because we have the ability to offer these, again, with that number of lenders on the platform. So again, the way it works, it's an unsecured personal loan. Those funds go directly to that homeowner. There is a clause in the contract that states they agree to use it specifically for your company's project. And the beauty of it is you're basically converting every single person into a cash buyer. The technology we have pings you every step of the way. And more importantly, too, when you start introducing this in the jobs that you execute, it's a zero impact credit check. So literally you can run their credit using our soft pull. Takes 2 minutes or less. You know exactly what they qualify for. If you say, hey, I want to put a $10,000 roof on, and you say, hey, let's get you pre-qual for 10K, it'll tell you if you pre-qual for up to 15. And then from there, you basically just walk them through what available plans. So again, we see rates as low as 499. The most important thing to say with this is there's a difference between us and buy down financing that does include fees. Their DTI will dictate the rates. So most important to understand, with no dealer fees, you don't have to mark up your job to compensate for those costs. You can be more competitive on pricing. And then beyond that, it's just like we are a very tech forward company that has pretty much the easiest platform in the world. So the second they fund, you get alerted. The second they touch their application, you get alerted. And you can basically say, cool, I'm gonna come to your house, cut me a check, because I see here you've got 15K burning a hole in your checking. So very cool stuff. Happy to get you guys more information. I'll actually drop the info page in the chat window as well.
Awesome. Do you want to? Thanks, James. That's awesome. Do you want to talk a little bit about Sales Rabbit, Mike?
Yeah. So sounds like a lot of people on the call already know about Sales Rabbit, but we are a field sales mobile app solution. We are the piece that really, when you have someone who's mobile in the field, teams working together, need to motivate them, help them be more efficient, and close more deals out of the contacts that they're making. We're the solution that can provide that. And then we also integrate with other systems like Solo. We have a Sunlight Financial financing, so you can do a soft credit pull from inside Sales Rabbit. It also creates the record over in Sunlight Financial, so you can actually finance that deal. And we're working on integrations with LoanPal, Mosaic, and hopefully Hearth in the future. We just want to make sure that we're solving what we can, and then connecting with those other companies that solve other pieces of the puzzle for you. 3 really cool products that we are in the process of launching right now that we're beta testing with some customers. If you're interested in this, reach out to our support team, answer any questions, or get you involved in these beta testing programs. One is a scheduler product built within our platform, so that if you got a setter closer model or seller technician, you can use that in the platform, see availability. You can have all this different logic built in to say, I want the closest guy whose calendar is available for this point in time, and maybe there could even be some skill specializations that person has to have this scheduled for them. The other two things are data products. New mover data, this is basically an MLS feed. So especially for solar companies, if you want your rep knocking on that door exactly 40 days after the deal was closed, after they bought that home, so I know they've got an energy bill in hand and they've unpacked their boxes, they're thinking about their energy efficiency, you can be the first person on their door with this data feed product. And then finally, title checks. You can actually, before you knock on the door or when you're on that doorstep talking to the person, say, hey, let's just confirm it that we got you on the title for the home so that we can take care of you here. And you can do that title check from within Sales Rabbit. So a lot of new products and features coming out that help you do the end-to-end from lead to sold process.
That calendar stuff, I want to hear about that.
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Well, very cool. I'll talk about Solo for a minute and then we'll kind of wrap this up. Before I do, I just want to say, hey, thanks to everyone for joining. I want to thank our panelists. We got James and Mike from Hearth and Sales Rabbit, and then, excuse me, our panelists, Tony, Mike, and Jake. Thank you guys all for being here, for participating. It was great to hear from everyone. I think that everyone understands the value of the information you guys have and presenting it and giving us kind of a peek into how you guys are being successful doing the cross industry. So Solo is, like Tony was saying, Tony actually did my pitch for me, so I'm going to retire from Solo sales and we're going to bring Tony on. But Solo, what we do is we focus on proposals, docs, and CAD. So we're a full back office solution for the solar industry. A lot of our customers use us for the proposals because they are the leading sales conversion tool in the market right now. I'm a little biased. I work for Solo, but I do believe we're the best in kind of what we do, which is a deliverable that's very aesthetic, very easy to use, very dynamic, so that when a rep takes that to the home, they look good, they function good, they feel good, and they close more deals. And that's kind of what we focus on here at Solo. One of our new products line is we actually are expanding into roofing. So we do have a roofing proposal now. So if you've seen our solar proposal, it's similar to that in the fit and function, but it just provides your roof measurements and some other dynamic tools with that as well. So we'd love to share that with you guys. If anyone wants to know any more info, you can just go to gosolo.io, and then also in the follow-up emails with the recording for this webinar, you'll get links to Hearth, Sales Rabbit, and Solo, along with the recording of this webinar. So any last-minute advice from the wise panelists we've got here before we log off? Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for letting us pick your brain. Thanks again for being here. James and Mike, thanks for helping organize all this. Really, really great to work with everyone. Thanks for all the participants coming and checking out what we had to share with you today. So thank you, everyone. We'll sign off from here, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you.